Groovy.
Hey everybody, Jim here. Welcome back. Today I've got some more import game recommendations, and today we're going to be taking a look at the PlayStation 2, which is an excellent system to collect for if you're an import gamer, because there are a lot of games that were released for it only in Japan, and a lot of really good ones as well. So let's get started with this one by Hudson Soft. I'm going to do my best here. Bobobo-bo, Bobobo-bo, Bobo. A lot of bows. And I chose this game for two reasons. One is that it's very affordable. It's under 10 bucks if you go looking for it on eBay, which is a great deal. The other is that it's really damn weird. This is the kind of game that when you think of a game that could only be released in Japan, that's the only place it could possibly work, this is the kind of game, at least that I tend to think of. I know it's based on an anime series. I've never actually seen the anime. I've seen advertisements for it. I think it aired on Toonami at one point. I'm not 100% sure about that, so I don't really know anything at all about this series aside from the couple of games I've played, and it's really wacky. This game, as far as gameplay goes, there are essentially two things you do. One is you walk down these long paths, and it's basically a rhythm game where as enemies jump out at you, you smack them away with your huge mustache, which I guess is just a power this guy has. And the other is boss battles that are essentially quick time events with the analog sticks. You have to move them both in all 8 directions, and these can actually get pretty challenging. You have to respond pretty quickly, and again, you're dealing with all 8 directions on 2 different sticks, so it is kind of tough. So overall, this is a simple game in terms of gameplay, but it is still pretty fun. And then just as far as like music and graphics and everything, extremely colorful, extremely lively music, and then just off the wall crazy cutscenes. The characters, the settings. I don't know anything about the series, but based on this game, good lord, is it wacky. So if you look for particularly Japanese import games, the kind of stuff that's really wacky that you couldn't find outside of Japan, this is definitely one of those games. Bo-bobo-bo, etc., etc. A really cool, wacky game. I would highly recommend picking it up if you like really kind of off-the-wall, extremely Japanese titles. This one's pretty cool. Next up, an excellent shooter in what's probably my favorite series of shooters. This one is Dodonpachi DaiOuJou. And this is a no-brainer if you're a shoot-'em-up fan or a fan of the Dodonpachi series in particular, which I think are some of the best shooters ever made. The Xbox 360 got a ton of Dodonpachi games released for it, but the PS2 only got this one Dodonpachi DaiOuJou, which as a result, it's actually kind of expensive. I think the lowest you'll find it for online is about 50 bucks, which is a lot to ask for a shooter, but if you're a big fan of the series and you import games for the PS2, it's really your only option, and it is still an amazing shooter. It's Dodonpachi after all, so you get the classic gameplay style. You get 2 ships to choose from. You get your powerful super laser and your spread shot that allows you to move faster. You get your super bombs. I believe this is the game that introduced the hyper gauge, which allows you to, get all powered up and just blow everything away with your cool, golden colored shots. It's fast, frantic, bullet hell style, just really as good of a shooter as you're gonna play on the PS2. I'll put it that way. There are some other shooters on the PlayStation 2, some other really good ones as well, like Cyvaria and games like that, but I think this probably my absolute favorite shooter for the PS2. So is it worth 50 bucks? It is to me, because I'm a big shooter fan and a big fan of this series, and if it's the only one on the PS2, then that's the one I'm gonna play. This is really excellent, highly recommended to shooter fans. Dodonpachi DaiOuJou, an excellent game and an excellent series. I highly recommend picking this one up if you're a shooter fan. It's great. Next up, based on one of my favorite anime of all time. This is a game I wanted for the longest time in the States, and we never got it, and it's really a shame. This is Yu Yu Hakusho Forever. And this is the game that we should have gotten in the States all those years ago. Instead, we ended up with Yu Yu Hakusho Dark Tournament, which was a giant pile of dog shit. This game actually pretty damn cool. It's nothing terribly deep as far as fighting games go. It's not like a Tekken or a Virtua Fighter, anything like that. It's very simple control scheme here. You have a couple of attack buttons and a special button and an energy charge button. Really, the entire point of this game is to get around to landing your cool signature over-the-top special attacks, which are taken from the show, and they play out as basically a cutscene that's a quick time event. So the attacker chooses the series of button presses that the defender will have to press in order to defend themselves. So what you end up with is basically fight, build up energy meter, land cool super attack, kind of struggle over that, and then when the character's energy gauge is reduced to nothing, they get knocked down instead of just knocked out. It plays very much like the Dark Tournament. For example, you have to get up before the 10 count. If you get knocked out of the ring, you have to get back in the ring to beat the 10 count. So it throws in something that's recognizable from the show and can be incorporated into the fighting mechanics. So that's pretty cool. Instead of just fighting 1 round, 2 round, it's more of I guess akin to like any other kind of like sport fighting game like boxing or MMA or something like that. You get up, you beat the 10 count, you keep fighting, and the more times you get knocked down, the more difficult it becomes to get back up. So very cool, very good graphics, very good sound design. It follows the plot of Yu Yu Hakusho. There are a ton of characters. So I would say if you're a fan of the show and you were not satisfied with the games that were released in the States or elsewhere, this would probably be the best Yu Yu Hakusho game to pick up and play. I think it's really good. Yu Yu Hakusho forever, very cool, very appealing to the Yu Yu Hakusho fan in me. The 13-year-old version of myself would have absolutely loved this game. Very cool. Next up, another game based on an anime that I grew up absolutely loving. This one's really cool. It is Cowboy Bebop. This is another one that I think we really should have gotten in North America. I actually remember reading in, I can't remember which PlayStation magazine it was back then, but there were plans to bring this over to the States, and it was just canceled for some reason, which is too bad. And again, this is another really affordable game. I think the most you'll pay for it online is like 20 bucks, which I think it's well worth, because it's a pretty damn good game, especially if you're a fan of the Cowboy Bebop series. For the most part, this game is a beat 'em up. You play as Spike and Jet Black and Faye, and you go around beating the crap out of a bunch of enemies. And as a beat 'em up, it flows pretty well. You have a couple of different attacks you can use. You have punches and kicks, and then you can also slip and dodge and counterattack your opponent's attacks. So pretty cool as far as beat 'em ups go. There are also shooting segments, and then there are also segments where you're in a ship or a jet of some sort, and you fly through and you have to dip and dodge and shoot enemies out of the sky. So that's all really cool. So a lot of different gameplay elements in Cowboy Bebop. It switches it up from one chapter to the next. So different gameplay styles, different characters to play as. So that's very cool. And the gameplay itself is fairly solid. It's not what I would call perfect, but it's definitely fun, definitely a playable game. And on top of that, it's Cowboy Bebop. So the story is really cool. You get all the Japanese voice actors and actresses. The graphics and sound design are outstanding, especially the music in this game. It's all composed by Yoko Kanno, who composed all of the music for the television series as well. So if you like the music from the TV series, you'll like the music in this game, and really beautiful cel-shaded graphics. Just really an excellent game for Cowboy Bebop fans. Again, a shame we didn't get this one in the States. I'd recommend picking it up. At 20 bucks, you can't go wrong with this one. Cowboy Bebop, Tsuyoku no Serenade, very cool game. Highly recommend playing it if you're a fan of this series. It's actually a pretty damn good action title. Very awesome. And then last but certainly not least, another game based on one of my all-time favorite anime, and a game made by one of my all-time favorite fighting game makers. This is Hokuto no Ken. And this is what I like to call awesome. It's Hokuto no Ken, or Fist of the North Star, one of the best anime series ever, in my opinion. It's basically Mad Max, but with a guy that walks around and punches people's heads off. So that's very cool. And then you take that property and you give it to Arc System Works, who can really do no wrong when it comes to 2D fighters, and this is what you get. It's amazing. It's all of these great characters and environments from Hokuto no Ken, and it plays like pretty much any other Arc System Works fighting game. So lots of combos, very fast-paced, very frantic gameplay, lots of counters and air juggles and super combos and these really cool finishing maneuvers that emulate scenes from the show. They're basically like fatalities, which is really cool. Awesome graphics. All the characters look great. All of the backgrounds look amazing. The soundtrack is really great too. It's very high intensity, heavy metal music for the most part, which is typical again of Arc System Works games. They always have these really excellent high energy heavy metal soundtracks, just like a Guilty Gear or Blaze Blue or any number of other 2D fighters they make. That's basically take all that and apply it to Fist of the North Star, and I think you get one of my all-time favorite Arc System Works fighting games. If I'm being completely honest, this game is absolutely great. I can't recommend it enough if you're a 2D fighting fan. It is a little on the expensive side. Again, a game that'll cost you between 40 and 50 bucks on eBay, but I think it's well worth it for one of the best fighting game experiences you'll have on the PS2. This one, highly recommended. Again, if you're a 2D fighting fan and a fan of Fist of the North Star, you can't do better than this. Hokuto no Ken, absolutely amazing 2D fighter. Highly recommend importing and playing this one if you're a fan of Arc System Works, other fighting games like Guilty Gear, so on and so forth. It is awesome, and there you go. Those are 5 Japan-exclusive PlayStation 2 games that I personally think are well worth importing and playing. They are awesome. Hey, down in the comments, do you have any favorite import PlayStation 2 games, or are there some that you'd love to get your hands on that you haven't been able to yet? I'd like to know, and until next time, thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. I will see you next time.